father's a Turtle Mountain Chippewa. My mom's a Fort Taunton Sioux. I grew up here in Oregon all my life, 25 miles west of Portland. I'm retired out of the Labor's Union Local 296. When I was a little boy, and they incarcerated Leonard on all the falsified evidence they have on him, they came up with. He told me to go to Oregon and live my own life and try to stay out of a lot of this political stuff. And I tried that. You know, I lived here in Oregon, born here in Oregon, and got in a little trouble here and there. But society, being Leonard's oldest son, with the last name and everything, kept pretty much dragging me back into it. But a lot of times over the 40 years, I'd go to these events and I'd listen to people talk about Leonard, and I'd stand in the background and I was just basically educating myself. And a lot of times I never let people know that I was Leonard's kid, but I'd go to a lot of these events and watch and listen. So anyway, so that's enough about me. What I want to say is Leonard's 71 years old. He lives in a maximum security prison. He's been in there for 40 years, 45 years with good time. Leonard's one of the longest held political prisoners in the world, and it's one of the biggest rights violation cases in history. When Leonard went to court, they had actually only gave his legal team $18,000 for his defense, where they gave the DA and the feds have spent millions of dollars keeping this man incarcerated. So I mean, us taxpayers, 40 years later, are still paying to keep this man in prison when you have Democratic and Republicans, Supreme Court judge, and the Attorney General saying there's no evidence of this man doing this. He needs to be set free or a retrial. I mean, that's their own justice system saying this. And when you got the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Supreme Court judges and the Attorney General saying this, they're supposed to honor their own set of rules, which they haven't. And a lot of Native American people over the past 300-400 years have experienced this. Our lifetimes, our elders, you know, they took a lot of our elders and our people and put them in these Christian schools and stuff, cut their hairs, wouldn't let us pray on our own way. They tried to, we'd get condemned, we'd get in trouble for speaking our own language, you know. So for like 100 years there, between 1860 and 1960, it was a bad thing to be an Indian. You know, people are embarrassed about it because of the Indian Wars. They'd go out here and live in society. People would put them down because of the Indian Wars. You know, so about in the 1960s, you know, that started going away. Now it's like 2016, and just about everybody in the country says they have an aunt or uncle or a cousin or somebody that's Native American. And 100 years ago we were condemned. Now everybody wants to be an Indian, you know, which that's okay too. But a lot of, you know, when they took Leonard from Canada, when they caught, well, let me start out here. When in 1975 to 1976, for 1 year on the Pine Ridge Reservation, there was over 200 Native Americans murdered and mutilated. There was never no investigation, never no arrest. Well, what they were was, it was known to be Dick Wilson, the Goon Squad. Him and a bunch of other guys were financed some way, somehow, with money, M16s, rifles. These guys were running around kicking the doors in on Grandma and Grandpa, trying to get them to sign the mineral rights to Black Hills away. That's what this was basically all about. To a lot of Native American people, they look at Leonard like a protector of the earth. Because when AIM went back there to protect the elders from the Goon Squad, and this shootout happened, they basically prolonged the takeover of the Black Hills. So a lot of Native American people look at Leonard like a protector of the earth. If these guys wouldn't have went back there and did that, they're still working on the Black Hills. To this day, they're at it again. Look, they're after the Oak Flats down there in New Mexico, in Arizona. Those people that's been their sacred prayer grounds for thousands of years. The same thing in Hawaii. The Hawaiians over there have a sacred mountain that's been in their culture, and they've been praying there for thousands of years. There's nothing sacred, To these corporations, they don't want to leave anything for these little kids. I always tell people, to these corporations and to the government, everybody wants all this gold, plutonium, and all these minerals that they're after. They're raping it and damaging the earth. It's a known fact. Even their own scientists say every 40 to 50,000 years, the earth recleanses itself. And just like us, if we accidentally cut ourselves, we will heal. The earth is the same way. For thousands of years, the Native American people have been in tune with the earth. That's why we've always respected the earth. We prayed for the earth, the animals, the creatures, the oxygen, the water. Now, when a little kid comes up to you and asks you, one day a little kid came up to me and asked me, 10 years old, Chauncey, this little kid comes up and asks me, says, Chauncey, what are all these corporations and the government and everybody going to do when the water's no good? This little kid says, look, they're fracking. The water's coming out of the sink and it's flammable. They can't drink that. They're poisoning. 10-year-old kid's telling me water's life. So what do I tell this kid when he tells me this? I'm looking, I'm going, wow, what am I going to tell him? All I can tell him is it's all up to all of us now. It don't matter what color you are. If you're white, black, green, purple, or whatever, we all live on this planet. And more people nowadays, and it don't matter what color you are, and getting in tune with this earth, because we're all starting to realize that we don't have nowhere else to go. And robbing and raping this land for all the minerals, all the gold, and the plutonium, ain't going to leave anything for these little kids to have when it's their time to raise their families and do their thing, like we did. We had all our chances. When you got all these birds flying, all these animals washing up on the ocean dead, should be telling us something, and that's part of the culture of the Native American people. And it don't matter if you're black or you're Irish or whatever. We all live on this planet, and most of all of us respect it, So everybody as a society, and back to not caring about what color you are, this is the only place we have. We got to respect it. We got to take care of it. Don't get me wrong. I worked for 30 years in construction. Yeah, I built lots of buildings and stuff. When I was young, yeah, I logged. This is all a lot of stuff that we do to keep going and surviving. But I look at it like, there's a lot of old buildings down in Portland or Eugene or whatever that ain't being used, that they could tear down and build a building there instead of taking some fresh ground and building a new building there. There's thinning logging. I went back to a place where I thin logged 5 years later. I couldn't even recognize the place. The trees were so big, they grew so much, I was amazed. When they clear cut it, it takes thousands, 20, 30, 40 years for the trees, the animals to come back. Those animals all go away because there's no more food for them. All the vegetation, everything's gone. So I'll get back to Leonard, but I always like to tell everybody that, and because we all live here. We got to live here. It's very important to all of us, and it don't matter who you are, what color you are. This is our home. We got to take care of it. We got to respect it, and I know a lot of you people do. So I'm not saying nobody here does. I'm saying the corporations, all the greed, all these people that money, that's all they see is dollar signs. Well, every time I drive down the road and I see a coyote or deer or something dead alongside that road, I look and I think, that's one of the Creator's creatures. He's just trying to survive too. You know, that's all he's trying to do. He's just trying to survive. You know, one day I was driving down the road and I looked way up the road and I seen a coyote sitting there. And I kept getting closer and I looked and the coyote was looking both ways. Well, I went up past him and I pulled over and I sat there and I watched and I wanted to see what that coyote was doing. And you know what he was doing? He must have seen his brother or his mom or somebody got hit on that highway. Because that coyote was actually looking both ways before he crossed that road. And then he crossed that road and he made it. And I looked and I sat there and I thought, even that coyote is learning how to survive. We got to learn how to survive by taking care of this planet. You know, and fighting the corporations for robbing and raping the land will get us nothing but in trouble. So I mean, we can't use this. We got to use this. You know, there's other means, a source of energies that we could use and do to preserve on this planet. And us people here are the people that built America. Was founded on minorities. We're the ones that are going to take care of this earth and keep it to where it's sustainable for the next generation. So I mean, that's all up to us, because we got to leave something for these little kids. You know. That's a big important part in my life, because I like breathing this good air, I like drinking that water, and I like eating the good food, you know. Just like my girlfriend taught me, she said, everything you put in your mouth is medicine. You know, these big fat candy bars, you're taking one bite and shoving the rest in your mouth and slugging down a big 2 liter of pop. Well, that's where diabetes and stuff comes from. That ain't good medicine. I'm guilty, I did it. So I mean, yeah, but I'm changing my life, and we got to change our lives for this planet, because we don't have nowhere else to go. When they go up there, they're already looking for another planet to destroy. So I mean, they ain't gonna bring any of us with them. Not that any of us want to go, but so we got to take care of what we got, you know. So anyways, I'll not back off on the environment, but anyways. In 1975 to 76, for 1 year, like I was saying, there was over 200 Native Americans murdered and mutilated on the Pine Ridge Reservation. And that's why AIM was back there, because the elders was asking AIM for protection. So that's why they went back there. When these guys were back there, they weren't back there driving around town looking for the goon squad. They were back there mowing the lawns, fixing the gutters, helping the elders fix their house, watching over them, and doing stuff that needed to be done. Well, when these 2 unmarked vehicles were chasing a pickup onto the Pine Ridge Reservation, over 2 Special Forces FBI agents chasing a guy over a stolen pair of cowboy boots with a warrant that didn't even exist. When they got on there, a firefight occurred. And that's where you say the Democratic, the Attorney General, and the Supreme Court judge says both sides are at fault, because nobody knows who fired the first shot. So when they caught 4 of these guys, they let one go because there was not enough evidence on it. They brought the other 2, Dino Butler and Bobby Robidoux, they brought them to Wichita, Kansas, and they pleaded self-defense. Well, people ask, well, how did they plead self-defense? Because of that year of the reign of terror on that Pine Ridge Reservation, when those guys chased that guy onto the reservation about the stolen cowboy boots, and the firefight occurred, well, all the Native Americans come out and they seen 2 guys shooting at Native Americans, so they thought they were the goon squad, so they all started shooting it out. When it was done, they had realized they shot it out with the FBI agents. So I mean, of course they were scared, they all scattered, you know. So when they catch 3 of them, they let one go. Bobby Robidoux and Dino Butler they catch, they bring it to Wichita, Kansas, they plead self-defense. People ask, well, how do they plead? Because of the reign of terror. Because of the murder, the corruption, and the poverty level on that reservation at the time was more higher there than in New York, Boston, and anywhere. They were finding Native Americans dead, murdered all over the reservation. So yeah, they were all scared for their lives. So that's why when the shootout happened, they all come running to help. Well, when they caught those guys and they let Dino Butler and them acquitted them and let them go, Leonard was on his way back from Canada. They caught Leonard before he got back and turned himself in. When they had him up in Canada, He was fighting extradition. When they did that, the FBI actually went in there and said, this was Leonard's gun found. This was Leonard's gun. This was a shell casing found at the scene. Well, 3 FBI agents went in there and testified to this. They convicted him on falsified evidence from 3 different FBI agents. They had tempered with the witnesses. They had falsified statements from witnesses. They had, let's see, where does it go? Geez, it goes on and on, you know. They wouldn't let Leonard's team submit a full defense, where they let the DA submit, 2 months? They only gave Leonard's defense team like 3 days to submit what evidence they had. So, I mean, there you go. They had actually convicted Leonard on, they perjured themselves, falsified ballistics, tempered witnesses. They got him back from Canada on all that. When they got him back from Canada, and Canada found out about this, they've been begging for him. They've been wanting him back ever since. You know, they just, they lied and did everything they could to get him back from Canada. So that's why Canada has actually been a supporter of Leonard for all these years. When Reagan was the president, he went there to Russia, asked Gorbachev about human rights. Gorbachev actually said, what about Leonard Peltier? Reagan didn't want to talk about human rights no more. They had over 14 million signatures from Russia to free Leonard Peltier. See? So, I mean, it just goes on and on. You know, Obama has said 3 different times, I know Leonard has supporters all over the world. I know Leonard has supporters that are presidents of the countries. I want to see supporters in the United States. So that's why I've been all over the country asking everybody, if you ever was a supporter of Leonard Peltier, he needs your help now more than ever. Because I want to flood the White House with these personal petition postcards. I mean, people come up to me and they say, well, I signed a petition before. I tell them, I said, well, I have to have a new set of petitions with every president. And I hate it that it works that way. If it didn't work that way, we'd probably have 70 million signatures in there for Leonard. But every time there's a president, we have to start over. So this is what Obama's asking. So this is what we need to give it. We need to flood the White House with any petitions, these personal petitions. I have these business cards. Call the White House and ask for clemency for Leonard. You call this, you tell them what you're doing, and they got a little counter there. So many counts. They tell the staff. It goes back up to Obama. So that's what we need to do. We need to push this big issue big time. This year is Leonard's last chance for freedom. He's 71 years old. He lives in a maximum security prison. Now right there, he's 71 years old. He ain't been in trouble in so many years. He's supposed to be in a medium security prison. They won't honor that. They won't put him in a medium security prison. You know, when you have these members of Congress, a Supreme Court judge, and the Attorney General, they don't just back up people for nothing. There's no evidence of this. You know, and I'm gonna hate to say it, you know, but and there might even be an FBI agent in here. But if you are, you know, all I'm saying is, you know, we're all human. We all make mistakes. You know, there wasn't one FBI agent, 2 FBI agents, 3 FBI agents. There was over 400 FBI agents there investigating this case when it happened. And with 400 FBI agents, they couldn't even corroborate. They couldn't even come up with enough falsified evidence to frame Leonard. They couldn't even frame him right with all those FBI agents, with all the technology of that year. They couldn't even frame this man right. I mean, that's how much injustice and how much evidence they had. They didn't have enough to do anything to him. It wasn't there. So, I mean, you don't have people like Robert Redford and all these supporters that support Leonard all these years. They don't just go help anybody. They've all studied this case. They all know this case. And they're all pushing for this. So, I mean, this is Leonard's last chance. He's 71 years old. And every time I go visit my father, he tells me, Chauncey, I'm not going to make it through another 8 years to another president. He goes, he's got diabetes. He's already had a stroke in there a few years back, 15 years ago or so. He has diabetes. He's in a gang prison. That's a gang prison. Every time one of those boneheads get in a fight in there, they lock the whole prison down. They feed Leonard through the door. Leonard can't pick and choose his food for his diabetes. So usually when he comes out of that hole, his diabetes is doing this roller coaster deal. He'll get it going in shape, get it down, then they go back into lockdown. And then he don't get to pick and choose his food no more, you know? So I mean, that there, diabetes, about everybody anymore knows somebody with diabetes. It's a killer. They're losing limbs, they're losing eyeballs, legs, everything else. It's killing people. 4 months ago, Leonard got diagnosed with an aneurysm, in his abdomen, an aneurysm. They said it's the size of a AAA battery. Well, we have him cleared to go to the Mayo Clinic, but the prison don't have him scheduled for over 7 months. If that thing starts bleeding, he has seconds. He probably don't have minutes. They probably do a check every couple hours. So if he starts bleeding, it might be a couple hours before the guard comes and checks on him. Let alone if we get lucky and the guard catches him at the right time and realizes they're going to pull him out of there, they're going to bring him to the clinic, the hospital. And then how long is it going to take for the ambulance to get there to get him somewhere where they can do the proper surgery on him? So I mean, right there, the odds are against him, you know, as they have been for 40 years, you know. So we're back to all the falsified evidence, the tempered witnesses. Leonard was actually due to get out in 2013. The federal guideline laws before 1986 said Leonard was supposed to be released in 2013. They won't honor that. You had the Supreme Court judges, the Attorney General, they're supposed to honor that. Well, 8 months ago, I had Leonard's artwork. I'm the director of PeltierArt.com. I do Leonard's art. I get it in galleries, museums, whatever I could do. I sell a lot of his art. I had his art displayed up in Tumwater, Washington as an Indigenous Peoples Month. I had it there as Leonard Peltier, the artist. Nothing political, nothing for sale. Well, the retired FBI Association, which are the boneheads that couldn't even frame Leonard right all these years, the ones that have been slandering him, sending him letters and harassing him, called up the governor of Washington and said, "Why are you displaying a murderer's art?" Well, when you have Democratic Republicans, the Attorney General and the Supreme Court judge saying different, he should have been set free. When they called up the governor of Washington and said this, all he would have had to say is, "We are displaying Leonard's art as a Native American artist. There's nothing political, nothing for sale. It's Indigenous Peoples' Rights Month. He has the right to do that." And that's all he had to do and hang up. But no, what he did, he panicked. He called down there. He had this art removed. Okay? I was in Florida visiting Leonard. Before I got home, I had 4 attorneys on the phone calling me. "Do you know what they did to your father?" I said, "Yeah, I know. They just violated his rights again." So 40 years later, they're still violating this man's rights. You know, 40 years later. Leonard tells me all the time, he goes, "All I want to do is go home and paint. Do my artwork. I want to work on old cars. That's all I want to do," you know. So, I mean, that's why I do a lot of this. When in January, when Obama lets him out, I want to have a place where Leonard could go. He's been in prison too long. He don't need to go to a recovery center, a halfway house. You know, we all know what kind of people he's been dealing with in there for 40 years. Like I said, a lot of those guys deserve to be in there. So, I mean, yeah, he gets visitors and everything, but, you know, I go down to the Oregon State Penitentiary and I pour water with those guys in the sweat lodge every 3rd Saturday. And a lot of these guys, when they come out after 10, 15 years, it's a shell shock. You know, they don't know how to deal with a lot of people like us out here, you know. They've been dealing with a lot of people in there, you know, where you got to fight for your life and every man for himself. So that's why I think Leonard needs a place to go to. That's why I do a lot of this. You know, Leonard, when he told me to go to Oregon and live my own life, I tried that. They drugged me back into it, so here I am. When they violated Leonard's rights again 8 months ago, I hired an attorney and I'm suing them. I'm suing the retired FBI Association and I'm suing the governor of Washington. I mean, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just asking them to honor the set of rules that they wrote up, that they expect us all to abide by and go by. Otherwise, we would be sitting in there with Leonard. You know, so I mean, us as American people now, we're all free here and we're all abiding by it. The least they could do is honor their own set of rules, which they definitely have a problem with. So I mean, I'm not asking them to do anything they ain't wrote up or their set of rules. So I mean, Obama, what I really believe is Obama, him and his wife are both attorneys. They both have political backgrounds. This is the career they picked for their life, attorneys. Where I went to colleges and talked to graduating attorneys before. And I tell them, I said, how can you go to work every day in this justice system knowing the biggest rights violation case in history is still sitting in prison? And there's no evidence that him doing this, and he's going to die in there. And you know what, most of these attorneys, they don't know what to tell me. They usually feel so bad they give a donation to the can, or they offer to help some way. Well, this is the system that you picked. This is the career you picked. You know, so if we had every attorney, half of the attorneys in the United States, which I went to probably about 5, 6 different law firms, and every one of them's told me, don't worry, Chauncey, the whole law firm's going to write a letter to Obama. My doctor, which I've had for 15 years, he never knew about Leonard. For the past year, I educated him on Leonard. And his wife's a doctor. Both of his sons are doctors. And last time I talked to him, I was there, I said, I got a bunch of literature out in the car. I got some personal postcards, some petitions, some clemency cards. I turned around, he was walking out the door. I go, where are you going, Dr. Craig? He goes, come on, this man's been in prison too long. My whole family's going to write a letter. He goes, we need to help get this man out of prison. So, I mean, those are the kind of people that write that is going to matter, the people that own business, these attorneys and everything, let alone us. Don't get me wrong. If it wasn't for us, Leonard wouldn't be here. They wanted him to go away a long time ago. You know, we're the ones that kept Leonard's spirit and him going. All you supporters out here, no matter how big or small you guys are, he appreciates every one of you. You know, I was in there, I was telling him one day, I said, Dad, I said, because all the funds and everything cycle through me in Hillsborough. So I was telling him, I said, Dad, I said, one day I opened up this letter and I read it, and there was a money order in there for 80 cents. And the guy said, Leonard, I'm homeless. I live on the street. He goes, I've been studying your case my whole life. He goes, I wish I had more to give you. He goes, but this is all I got. And he goes, I want you to have it. And I read that, man, I about started crying. I thought, wow, you know, this guy's, wow, that's just amazing, you know. And Leonard told me, he goes, man, he goes, those are the kind of people that's kept me going all these years. He goes, those are the people that's kept my spirit up and going and kept me fighting, you know. And man, I didn't know what to think, you know, until I read that and seen that. Now I read them all and I see all the supporters out there. So I know Leonard has millions of supporters out there. That's why I always say, if you ever was a supporter of Leonard Peltier, if you ever knew anybody that was a supporter of Leonard Peltier, he needs you now more than ever. Because if he don't get out now, he's going to die in there. His health issues. There's no way he's going to make it through another president. So, I mean, this will be the first step for not just Native American people from all these treaties and all the violations they've been doing to our people all these years. It goes on down the line. Black people, Orientals, anybody. They've been doing it to all of us, you know. Even the white man now, you know. If you don't have this, you're going to jail too, you know. When I turned 50 in November, and when I was a kid growing up, that's all I used to ever hear. The land of the free, the land of the opportunity, innocent until proven guilty. I don't hear that no more. I don't hear them bragging about that no more. All I hear is if you got enough of this, you get to go home. So I mean, that's where we're going back to. It don't matter what color you are. If you have the mighty dollar, you can buy yourself out of anything. Well, that ain't the justice system that a lot of these vets went and died for and fought for this country for. They went and fought for the old standards that we grew up under, where they used to say the land of the free, innocent until proven guilty. That's why a lot of these veterans went and died for this country. That's why a lot of them fight for this country, is because of that. And they don't even honor that, and they don't even say that no more. So I mean, there we go. You're getting less and less people in the military from what I'm seeing. When I was a kid growing up, I used to hear all these guys saying, yeah, I'm going to the military, man, I'll see the world. I don't hear these young guys saying that no more, So I mean, that's what this country was founded on, and that's what we need to fight for and ask for. Not fight, but ask for. Because we all live by it. We honor it. They need to honor it. No more picking and choosing. If this guy's over here protesting because they're over here drilling in his neighbor's house, messing up his well, and this guy's over here protesting with his neighbor, well, this guy's making the biggest scene, so we're going to throw him in prison for the rest of his life. Well, that ain't right. What happened to freedom of speech? Is that another thing that went away? You can't go and protest and say your opinion on something anymore, So, I mean, there you go. But, so what I'm asking everybody, and Leonard's asking everybody, this is Leonard's last chance. And we can't let him die in prison. Like I said, this is the biggest rights violation case in history. That's why all these attorneys, all these judges and everybody, all these people are so interested in this case because of the justice system that's failed Leonard. He's, like I tell people, it's different if you're in there and if you're doing life in prison, you're doing life, you're never going to get out. But you look at Leonard Peltier's eyes. For 40 years, you're talking, when he only gave his legal team $18,000. We're in the 90, we'll go to 86, where he was due to get out under the federal guideline laws. Before 1986, he was due to get out in 2013. Then the Democratic and Republicans and the Supreme Court and Attorney General. Every time Leonard sees a little daylight under that door and he thinks he's got a chance, or maybe a chance for freedom, they move the bar on him. Now, in my opinion, that's the ultimate torture of all. I'd rather be sitting in there knowing I'm never going to get out. Not every couple of years think I have a chance, and maybe I'm going to get out this time. Well, this is a justice system. According to the justice system, I'll get out.